Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is R.S. Raghu and with me is Vaibhav Jyotsna Srivastava, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates 12th Defence Expo in Gandhinagar. Says India's defence exports have grown 8 times in the last 5 years. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh hosts IOR Plus conclave in Gandhinagar today. Calls for collective efforts towards addressing the present and emerging threats to security and stability in the IOR. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres arrives on a 2-day visit to Gujarat today to participate in the 10th Heads of Missions Conference. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says India's recent development journey is characterized by high-impact programs delivered at scale. Union Minister for New and Renewable Energy R.K. Singh says that renewable energy is a viable substitute for fossil fuels. Trial run for use of India Chattogram Mongla ports for transit of goods between India and Bangladesh begins today. Tens of thousands of Russians deport out of Ukraine's southern Kherson region ahead of a Ukrainian offensive. Sajan Bhanwal becomes the first Indian Greco-Roman wrestler to win a medal at the Under-23 World Wrestling Championship, and in badminton, Lakshya Sen and HS Pranoy win their respective matches to enter the Denmark Open round of 16. DEF Expo 2022 was formally inaugurated on Wednesday by PM Narendra Modi at Mahatma Gandhi Convention and Exhibition Centre in Gandhinagar. Speaking at the ceremony, PM Modi said that DEF Expo is introducing Indian defence manufacturing capabilities to the world. He added that not so long ago, India was globally known as only as the one biggest defence importers. Now India is exporting defence equipment and products to more than 75 countries across the world. Indian defence exports have grown 8 times in the last 5 years and stood at $1.59 billion in 2021-22. Mr. Modi said that the country now aims to increase defence exports to $5 billion in near future. The Prime Minister laid the foundation stone of the Disa airfield virtually. He said that the construction of Disa Forward Air Base would add to the security architecture of the country and boost the local economy. HTT-40, the indigenous trainer aircraft designed by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, was also unveiled by the PM at the Helipad Exhibition Centre. Mr. Modi also highlighted the growing importance of space technology in the defence sector and maritime trade and activities. Citing the example of the SARC satellite, he said that space technology is really important. The Indian defence developed by India is helping many developing countries. The PM called upon the youth to contribute to the development of space technology in the country. Launching Mission Dev Space, he said that Missions Dev Space would give opportunity to the private sector to develop innovative solutions for the armed forces in the space domain. The theme of this year's event is to Path to Pride. With record registration of 1,340 companies, DEF Expo 2022 is said to be the biggest Indian defence exhibition till date. It is also the first ever edition of the event to exclusively feature Indian companies. The biennial exhibition is being organized to support, showcase and forge partnerships for the Indian aerospace and defence manufacturing sector with Indian as well as global customers. The Indian Ocean Region Plus IOR Plus Defence Ministers Conclave was hosted by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh at the sidelines of DEF Expo 2022 in Gandhinagar on Wednesday. The conclave was attended by representatives of 40 countries. The conclave aims to promote strategic and commercial partnerships within the IOR countries in line with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of security and growth for all in the region, Sagar. The theme of the conclave was Challenges, Opportunities and Collaborations in the Indian Ocean. Delivering the keynote address, Mr. Rajnath Singh called for collective efforts towards addressing the present and emerging threats to security and stability in the IOR. Mr. Singh termed sustainable exploitation of maritime resources as an important means for growth and development of nations across the IOR in the 21st century. The Defence Minister reiterated that India unequivocally rejects any hierarchical conception of global order and the pretensions of moral superiority in international relations. He asserted that New Delhi believes in a global order based on mutual respect and benefit of every country. Mr. Singh urged the IOR countries to leverage the R&D ecosystem created by the government in India for the mutual benefit for all. He also held bilateral meetings with delegation leaders from Bangladesh, Angola, South Africa, Democratic Republic of Congo and Paraguay.
UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres arrived on a two-day visit to Gujarat on Wednesday. UN Secretary will participate in the 10th Heads of Missions Conference at Kevadia on Thursday. Mr. Guterres will also hold a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Modi at Kevadia. He will also visit the 24/7 solar-powered village Modhera and the world-famous Sun Temple in Mahesana. UN Secretary-General will also interact with locals at Modhera. Antonio Guterres is visiting for the first time since he commenced his second term. United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has said that India has always been a living advocate for the concerns and aspirations of the developing countries. Delivering a talk at IIT Bombay on Wednesday on India-UN partnership strengthening South-South cooperation, Mr. Guterres said, India's recent development journey is characterized by high-impact program delivered at scale, which includes the world's largest food-based social protection scheme and the massive expansion access to clean water and sanitation services. Informed that India is among the biggest provider of military and police personnel to United Nations missions. That includes the first all-women police contingent peacekeeping mission. He said over 200,000 Indian men and women have served in 49 peacekeeping missions since 1948. Mr. Guterres also appreciated India's role during the COVID-19 pandemic, highlighting India's donation of medicines, equipment and vaccines at the height of COVID-19 pandemic. He also noted that humanitarian assistance and finance in Afghanistan and Sri Lanka is increasing India's impact on the international stage. As a reason, India is on Wednesday a partner of choice to the United Nations. The UN Secretary-General also counted on India's support in mobilizing G20 countries around debt relief.
In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a news commentary on India-Egypt ties on the upswing.
India's External Affairs Minister made a 2-day visit to Cairo as India and Egypt marked 75 years of diplomatic relations. Dr. S. Jaishankar discussed a wide range of bilateral, regional and international issues of mutual interest with his counterpart Mr. Sameh Shoukry. The External Affairs Minister called on the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and conveyed warm greetings of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The External Affairs Minister deeply appreciated President Sisi's guidance in further developing various dimensions of India-Egypt ties. Dr. Jaishankar had a warm and productive meeting with his Egyptian counterpart, reflecting the deep-rooted ties between New Delhi and Cairo. The two leaders recognized the bilateral exchanges in defense and security while discussing capacity building in economic and commercial domains, including information technology, energy, pharmaceuticals, and health. Dr. Jaishankar and Mr. Shoukry also focused on strengthening cooperation in other areas of eminence, including agriculture, infrastructure, chemical, cybersecurity, and small and medium enterprises. The two ministers agreed to explore opportunities in new and renewable energy, trade and investment, education, tourism, and connectivity. Egypt has been one of India's largest trading partners in Africa, and the promotion of bilateral trade, commerce, and investments was one of the focus areas during the visit. External Affairs Minister addressed a meeting of the India-Egypt Business Forum in Cairo, which had a wide representation from the chemicals, manufacturing and fertilizer sector. The meeting was also attended by the representatives of education, renewable energy, retail, pharmaceuticals and service industry. Dr. Jaishankar apprised the Egyptian business community about advances in bilateral ties and the emerging new opportunities in trade and investments, connectivity, education, health and many other domains. India-Egypt bilateral trade touched a record high at $7.26 billion during financial year 2021-22. Indian investment in Egypt exceeds $3.15 billion. Over 50 Indian companies engaged in Egypt in a range of sectors like manufacturing, chemicals, energy, infrastructure, retail, etc. In his first bilateral visit to Egypt, Dr. S. Jaishankar said that as independent-minded nations, India and Egypt actively contribute to the global discourse and promote the cause of peace, progress and development. He added that India and Egypt are active in shaping global debates. Underlining the need for an independent thinking and voices of reason in a polarized world, he highlighted the importance of India-Egypt cooperation in multilateral forums and said that it remains robust. India welcomes Egypt's participation in G20 under its chairmanship during December 2022 to November 2023. Under its presidency, India is expected to host over 200 G20 meetings across the country. The G20 is an intergovernmental forum of the world's major developed and developing economies and collectively accounts for 85% of global GDP, 75% of international trade and two-thirds of the world population, making it the premier forum for international economic cooperation. New Delhi also welcomes Egypt's recent acceptance in Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO, as a dialogue partner. New Delhi also appreciates Egypt's membership in BRICS' new development bank. External Affairs Minister also extended India's support to Egypt for its COP27 presidency. In November 2022, Egypt will host the 27th Conference of Parties, COP, of the UNFCCC UN Framework Convention on Climate Change and pave the way for tackling the global challenge of climate change in an effective manner. During the visit, Dr. Jaishankar also discussed the developments in South Asia and West Asia with the Egyptian Foreign Minister. The two ministers also exchanged views on the Ukraine conflict and the issues of concern in the Indo-Pacific. Dr. Jaishankar also met with the Indian community in Egypt, including students, and thanked them for advancing India's national interests while shaping the national image in the region. External Affairs Minister also met the Arab League General Secretary Ahmed Abul Gheit and discussed avenues of intensifying the engagement between India and the League of Arab States. Dr. Jaishankar paid homage to Bapu at Cairo's Al Horeya Park and wished that Mahatma Gandhi's message would keep inspiring the world to strive for justice and equality for all. External Affairs Minister's visit to Cairo was preceded by the visit of Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh in September 2022.
This is All India Radio giving you the world news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
Indian nationals are advised against travelling to Ukraine in view of the deteriorating security situation and recent escalation of hostilities across Ukraine. In an advisory issued by the Embassy of India in Kyiv in Ukraine, it has been advised to Indian citizens, including students, to leave Ukraine at the earliest. Tens of thousands of civilians and Russian appointed officials are being moved out of Ukraine's southern Kherson region ahead of a Ukrainian offensive, says the Russia-installed local leader Vladimir Saldo. He also said that all Russian-appointed departments and ministries would cross the Dnieper River. On Tuesday night, residents in Kherson started receiving text messages urging them to evacuate immediately to avoid shelling of residential areas by Ukrainian forces. The messages said transport across the Dnieper River would be available from 7 on Wednesday. On the other hand, Ukraine has called on residents to ignore the Russian move. The head of Kherson's regional administration said Russia wanted to take civilians hostage and use them as human shields. The transfer or deportation of civilians by an occupying power from occupied territory is considered a war crime. Ukrainian officials have warned that this might represent the start of a forcible deportation to Russia. Serhiy Khan, an aide to the ousted head of the Kherson region, suggested the deportations theatre could be acting as cover for a much bigger Russian move, a complete military evacuation from the west bank of the river. In a separate development, Russian President Vladimir Putin said he had signed a decree imposing martial law on 4 Ukrainian regions, including Kherson annexed by Moscow last month. He told Russia's Security Council that it would give regional leaders additional powers to maintain social order and safeguard important facilities. President Putin has also announced heightened security levels inside Russia. As part of the decree, President Putin announced 3 additional levels of heightened security inside Russia. The highest level applies to Russia-annexed Crimea and other areas near the border with Ukraine, such as the regions of Belgorod, Kursk and Krasnodar. In these areas, there will be more security, possible evacuation orders, and some restrictions placed on travel. Regional authorities will be given more powers to ensure measures are implemented, establish territorial defense, and mobilize the economy for the war effort. Union Minister for New and Renewable Energy, R.K. Singh, said that renewable energy is not only a solution to tackle climate change but also a viable substitute for fossil fuels. The minister said this while speaking at the inaugural session of New Technologies for Clean Energy Transition at the 5th ongoing International Solar Alliance ISA Assembly in New Delhi today. He said that renewable energy is the best alternative and there is a need to expand it in every possible way. Raising concerns over the storage capacity, he said, though it is expensive, the government is setting up more storage manufacturing capacities to meet such challenges. The minister also urged the world leaders to build more storage capacities and said once the storage capacities are enhanced, the prices of energy automatically come down. He added that to meet such challenges, we need to add more volumes of renewable energy, and the government is working in this direction to make it possible.
Our objective is that we have to bring electricity, we have to give access to energy to almost about 700 million people in this world who are without access to energy. And we want to give access to energy to these people through renewable sources, through green sources. So it has to be an expansion of access, that is the priority, and that expansion of access has to be through clean and green sources.
Speaking at the event, Secretary in the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Mr. Indu Shekhar Chaturvedi, said that the case for international cooperation is very strong in building resilient and diversified solar supply chains and cross-country trade in hydrogen technologies to accelerate renewable energy worldwide. He said renewable energy is an evolving area and it will see rapid changes for several years going forward. The Secretary said governments across countries have done a remarkable job in both promoting renewable energy and building awareness about renewable energy. Dr. Ajay Mathur, DG ISA, said that solar energy is increasingly becoming the preferred energy choice for a number of reasons, including cost competitiveness. He added that to accelerate the pace, India would need the right information to reach the right leadership, and this conference is intended to exactly do that.
China has once again put a hold on a proposal by India and the US at the United Nations to list Pakistan-based Lashkar-e-Taiba leader Shahid Mahmood as a global terrorist. This is the fourth time in last few months that China has put a hold on listing proposals to designate Pakistan-based terrorists. The US Treasury Department had designated Mahmood a global terrorist in December 2016. Indian nationals are advised against travelling to Ukraine in view of the deteriorating security situation and the recent escalation of hostilities across Ukraine. In an advisory issued by Embassy of India in Kyiv in Ukraine, it has been advised to Indian citizens, including students, to leave Ukraine at the earliest. The Indonesian government will demolish the stadium in Malang, where at least 131 football fans were killed earlier this month when a stampede broke out after a match. Indonesian President Joko Widodo said that the Kanjuruhan Stadium in Malang would be rebuilt according to safety standards set by the sports governing body FIFA. He said the country must thoroughly transform how it managed the sport. The announcement came after Mr. Widodo met FIFA President Gianni Infantino. Indonesia is set to host the 2023 Under-20 World Cup. Cargo vessel Motor vessels Trans-Samudra departed on Wednesday from Chattogram port in Bangladesh carrying an Indian transit container. This movement of cargo is part of the trial runs being undertaken for the operationalization of the agreement to use Chattogram and Mongla ports ACMP for the transit of goods to and from India, which was signed between India and Bangladesh in 2018. An SOP was signed to operationalize the agreement during the visit of Prime Minister of Bangladesh to India in 2019. The current trial run is being undertaken on Davki Tamavil Chattogram route by Tata Steel and CJ Dakul Logistics Limited. The first trial movement under this agreement on the Chattogram Akhora Agartala route was successfully conducted in July 2020, wherein 4 containers, 2 each of TMT steel and pulses, were delivered at ICP Agartala through Chattogram port. The transit or transshipment of goods under this agreement will reduce both cost and time for transport of goods to northeastern states of India. It will also create economic gains for the Bangladesh logistics and services industry, including insurance, transport and finance, as only Bangladesh truck will be used for transshipment.
Mali's Foreign Affairs Minister Abdoulaye Diop has said that the military government would exercise its right to self-defense if France continued to undermine the country's sovereignty and national security. Speaking at a United Nations Security Council briefing on Mali in New York, Mr. Abdoulaye Diop alleged that France had violated Mali's airspace and delivered arms to Islamist militants. However, France's representative denied the accusations and defended its intervention in Mali as fully transparent. France's relations with Mali have soured since an August 2020 coup, and it is withdrawing troops sent in 2013. The West African country Mali has faced instability since 2012 when Islamist militants hijacked a Tuareg rebellion in the north. North Korea fired artillery shells in waters near South Korea. South Korea military today said that the shells did not land in South Korean territorial waters and fell into buffer zones separating the two countries. It said North Korea military fired roughly 250 artillery rounds. Seoul condemned Pyongyang's action and imposed its first unilateral sanctions in nearly 5 years. Meanwhile, the North Korea said that the shots were designed to send a grave warning to South Korea. Tensions between the two countries flared last week after the North fired a barrage of artillery shells and few warplanes near the border area.
The Sensex and the Nifty today witnessed modest gains amid mixed cues from global share markets. The Sensex regains the 59,000 mark while the Nifty reclaims the 17,500 points. A report from the business desk.
The Sensex rose 147 points or 0.25% to finish at 59,107. The Nifty also surged 25 points or 0.14% to end at 17,512. At the multi-commodity exchange, gold futures for December were trading at 50,315 rupees per 10 grams. Silver futures for December were trading at 56,090 rupees per kilogram when reports last came in, and oil prices witnessed gains bearing losses from the previous session. In intraday trade, Brent crude was trading at $90.55 per barrel.
In Denmark Open Badminton, Lakshya Sen defeated Anthony Sinisuka Ginting of Indonesia by 21-16, 21-12 in men's single, while HS Pranoy defeated Zhao Shunpeng of China by 21-13, 22-20 in women's singles. Saina Nehwal lost to Zhang Yiman of China by 17-21, 21-19, 11-21. India's men's doubles duo Satvik Sairaj Rangi Reddy and Chirag Shetty clinched a convincing 21-15, 21-19 win over Kang Min-hyuk and Seo Seung-ye of South Korea.
India and Saudi Arabia have emerged as two final bidders to host the 2027 edition of the Asian Football Confederation AFC Asian Cup. Qatar, who are the current Asian champions, were interested to host the 2027 Asian Cup, but had to drop out after it was announced as hosts for the 2023 edition. India has qualified for the AFC Asian Cup 2023, Qatar following the table-topping performance in the third round of qualifiers. Sajan Bhanwal became the first ever Indian Greco-Roman wrestler to win a medal at the Under-23 World Championship, defeating Ukraine's Dmytro Vasetsky in the 77 kg bronze medal playoff at Pontevedra, Spain. The bout ended at 10-10, but since the Indian had scored the last point, he was declared a winner on criteria. 6 Greco-Roman wrestlers are participating in the championship, along with 2 women and 1 freestyle wrestler.
Over the past 75 years since independence, India's largest public service broadcaster, All India Radio, has been the proverbial storyteller for crores of people across the country. All India Radio is celebrating 75 years of freedom with the series Azad Bharat Ki Baat Akashvani ke saath. It showcases the journey of India since independence in various walks of life through the storytelling of All India Radio. In today's episode, we bring you the story of new national education policy.
The National Education Policy (NEP) was approved on 29th July 2020 by the Union Cabinet of India. It replaced the existing Educational Policy of India, which was made in 1986. This policy brings a big positive change in the education of the country. It is a framework for elementary education till higher education, which includes vocational training in both urban and rural areas. The main aim of launching the National Education Policy 2022 is to remodel India's education policy. The NEP gives emphasis on promoting multilingualism and Indian languages. The medium of instruction until at least grade 5, but preferably till grade 8 and beyond, will be among the home language or mother tongue or local language or regional language. The NEP will universalize education from preschool to secondary school. Previously, the pattern of 10+2 was followed, which has now changed to 5+3+3+4. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that the new national education policy ensures greater freedom for the youth to take decisions on the basis of changing situations.
भारत की एजुकेशन और आधुनिक बने, मॉडर्न बने, यहाँ के टैलेंट को भरपूर अवसर मिले। इस कड़ी में देश की नई एजुकेशन पॉलिसी का ऐलान किया गया है। ये पॉलिसी 21वीं सदी के नौजवानों की सोच, उनकी जरूरतें, उनकी आशाओं, अपेक्षाओं और आकांक्षाओं को देखते हुए बनाने का व्यापक प्रयास हुआ है। 5 वर्ष तक देश भर में इसके हर बिंदु पर व्यापक डिबेट और डिस्कशन हुए, हर स्तर पर हुए और तब जाकर ये नई नीति बनी है। ये सच्चे अर्थ में पूरे भारत को, भारत के सपनों को, भारत की भावी पीढ़ी की आशा आकांक्षाओं को अपने में समेटे हुए नई भारत की शिक्षा नीति आई है।
The National Education Policy proposes various reforms in school education as well as higher education, including technical education. A number of action points and activities for implementation in school education as well as higher education have been included in the NEP. Salient features of NEP 2020 are ensuring universal access at all levels of schooling from pre-primary school to grade 12, along with quality early childhood care and education for all children between 3 to 6 years. There will be no hard separations between arts and sciences, between curricular and extracurricular activities, between vocational academic streams. It aims to establish national mission on foundational literacy and numeracy. For assessment reforms, it has provision for board exams on up to 2 occasions during any given school year, 1 main examination and 1 for improvement if desired. Educationist Sant Kumar Chaudhary says that the NEP is beneficial for all.
This new education.
A quick look at the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates 12th Defence Expo in Gandhinagar. Says India's defence exports have grown 8 times in the last 5 years. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh hosts IOR Plus Conclave in Gandhinagar today. Calls for collective efforts towards addressing the present and emerging threats to security and stability in the IOR. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres arrives on a 2-day visit to Gujarat today to participate in the 10th Heads of Missions Conference. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says India's recent development journey is characterized by high-impact program delivered at scale. Union Minister for New and Renewable Energy R.K. Singh says that renewable energy is a viable substitute for fossil fuels. Trial run for the use of India Chattogram Mongla ports for transit of goods between India and Bangladesh begins today. Tens of thousands of Russians deport out of Ukraine's southern Kherson region ahead of a Ukrainian offensive. Sajan Bhanwal becomes the first Indian Greco-Roman wrestler to win a medal at the Under-23 World Wrestling Championship. And in badminton, Lakshya Sen and HS Pranoy win their respective matches to enter the Denmark Open round of 16. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan Vaishnav Jan by artists. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.
News.